Madam?
Yeah. Are I start here?
Yes, yes. Yes, it's time now. Thank you.
Okay. मतलब video start करो। चलो कोई नहीं।
Madam, wait, madam, hold on. There is a lot of background noise somewhere. I
Yeah.
request all the other dignitaries to please keep their mic mute mode once someone starts.
So, good morning, friends. I, C. Ritu Agarwal, welcomes you to our 7th virtual CP meeting on company's Fresh Start Scheme 2020. Our today's speaker is Shilpa ji with us. Shilpa ji, we welcomes you. Vijender bhai, Preksha ji, we welcomes you. Shilpa ji is our in-house speaker since Shilpa ji is member also of our study circle. And we have Vijender ji Jain, Secretary Vasai branch of WIRC with us. Vijender ji always motivates and supports us in our events. I request Vijender ji to please share his valuable thoughts with our members. Vijender bhai.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, welcome you in the 7th virtual room of the Behind the Study CP Circle. A study circle which knows by the more than 2 decades, that is the more than 20 years. I am also the witness of the member of this study circle as a member, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my views and thoughts. We acknowledge the presence of by Preksha Ji Jain, convener Nikunj Bagaria, Deputy Convener Rituji Agrawal, Akash, Sheetal, past convener Sandeep Ji Jain, past convener Nitesh Kothari Ji, a birthday boy, and past convener Nitesh Shah. From Nitesh Shah, I know this Bhinder Study Circle. Friends, when I came down in Bhinder, I first visit Bhinder Study Circle. That time, branch is located in Indralok. I don't know where is the branch, but I know the study circle because study circle events are happening in Jaika as well as West Sagar. I first privileged to be part of this study circle and thank me as a Vasai branch secretary for sharing my views and thoughts. I acknowledge also the young dynamic lady woman empowerment speaker Shilpa Gupta. I know him very personally. In every 2 days, she's sharing their videos, recording their videos and sharing on the YouTube. These all videos are very, very recognition, very valuable. And kudos to you, Shilpa. Down the line, 5 years, we will want to see from Bhinder Study Circle, you are the dynamic woman empowerment speaker in our area. In addition of that, I just take the 2 minutes because we know each other. But this lockdown, I learned the important thing, that is the retention. Before talking about the retention of the 2 minutes, I acknowledge the thanks to my entire managing committee of Vasai branch, because without the committee, I will not be the secretary. I thanks to my chairman, vice chairman, treasurers, everyone, and special thanks to my very lovely buddy, committee member, past secretary Amit Agrawal. Yes, friends, in the 7 committee members, we have the memories forever, and we spend time 7 together. Now the topic is retention. Retention is a very important in our life. Once we talk in the lockdown, we have to retain our team. We have to retain our office. We have to retain our clients. We have to retain our personal relations, and we have to retain entire area. This lockdown is a very positive attitude. Only we harm in the financial impact. If we talk my personal view, it is a harm, it is a loss, is financial impact. Apart from financial impact, we have the lot of benefits of this lockdown. This lockdown, we develop a speaker like Shilpa Gupta. Really, in this lockdown, Shilpa have the time to share the videos and record the videos and download on the YouTube. So we can see what is the benefit of the lockdown. So friends, retention is a very important. And second, I believe personal discipline and positive attitude. This is this scheme, CFS scheme, 2020 is itself a very unique scheme. Additive 1, Additive 3, AOC 4, MBT 7, every forms. If you want to file a last 7 years return or 10 years down the line, if you want to file, it's a 10 lakh rupees penalty is there. Instead of 10 lakh penalties, we can do the annual filing of rupees 25,000 of last 10 years. This is the benefit to revive ourselves. The topic is endless. Thanks to Nikunj Bhai and the entire managing committee of Mahindra Study Circle. Thank you so much, all coordinators, and we welcome you, all the members, seniors. So, some of the members and seniors are mentor me, who enriched me, who guided me, and I am fortunate to be part of this lovely virtual group today. Thank you so much to sharing my views. Over to you, Ritu.
Thank you, Vijendra Bhai. Thank you so much for your kind words. You always support us. Thank you. As Vijendra Bhai said, there is no tool for development more effective than the empowerment of a woman. So in this line, we support women empowerment, and our today's event is totally organized and coordinated by our female coordinators. For this, we thank our convener, CA Nikunj Bhangaria ji, for giving us this opportunity. So friends, our today's speaker is also our Shilpa ji, one of us. And for the formal introduction, since she is a speaker today, so we offer a gesture of, gratitude. I request Sheetal, our coordinator, to please introduce Shilpa ji.
Thank you, Ritu ma'am. CA Shilpa ji has done her graduation from Royal College. While pursuing her graduation, ma'am has already taken into her kitty CA and CS, both the degrees. Ma'am has very well timely managed her career line. Ma'am's core area of practice is into taxation, indirect taxation. Ma'am has conducted various seminars on different platforms such as Borivali CP Study Circle, Study Group of Acquaintance and Fellowship, and webinar of Bhinder CA Social Group jointly with ISKCON. Ma'am is also wherein ma'am has taken various topics on GST, direct tax, also into the utilities that we use, that is Excel and Tally. Ma'am has diversified interest which can be evident via her active participations in various social and cultural activities organized by our ICAI, and has won acclaim also. To name it, ma'am has won Best Men series, Women series organized by Vasai branch of ICAI. Ma'am, we welcome you here on Bhinder CP Study Circle. Ma'am, you can take the charge to guide us through the company's Fresh Start scheme. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such a lovely introduction. And it's an honor on my part, to present and to come back and give something back to my study circle. I also want to thank Vijendra ji for giving such a lovely introduction of the Bhinder Study Circle. It, just added more value to and more respect to the study circle which I give. Such a long history of the study circle. Thank you so much, sir. Coming back to the scheme, my screen is visible.
Shilpa ji, your screen is visible.
Visible, okay then. And so we'll start with today's topic, Companies Fresh Start Scheme 2020. As the name says, Companies Fresh Start Scheme. ROC has thought a lot about the name and has kept an appropriate name. The name says everything, almost everything about the scheme. If I, break the name, like first, company, it clearly says that it is only applicable to a company and not to any LLP or any joint venture or any other entity which is registered with the ROC portal. It is only applicable to a company. Second word says fresh start. Fresh start means what? Forget whatever wrong you have done in the past and give yourself a fresh start. Just like, when we as a kids make a mistake, our parents says, forget everything and, give a fresh start to your life. Go ahead and, start a new way. Same way, the godfather of companies is basically MCA and ROC. They also say that if you have not done any compliances, don't worry, give a fresh start. But since ROC and MCA are also a governing body, they have to keep a track record of all the companies which are there in India. They are supposed to collect the data also from the companies and keep a track record whether the companies are complying with the law or not. In case if there is any discrepancies, then highlight them and issue a notice and get it rectified, or ask the company to rectify it. So what does the ROC has said, that I will allow you to give a fresh start. You may forget what you have done, the discrepancies, but provided you file those discrepancies, that is those returns which are not yet filed. Whatever is the late fee, under ROC, late fee is called as additional fee, which you have to pay. It depends upon what type of form you are filing. Generally, the fees is like, depending upon what is the delay, it is like 2 times or 4 times or 6 times of the original fee. In fact, recently now the additional fee has changed. It is like 100 rupees per day. So the ROC says that, okay, whatever mistakes you have done, fine. You have not filed your returns in the past, don't worry. File your returns now. Since I am allowing you to give a fresh start, you may not pay the additional fee, which is required in case if you are filing the form late, and give a fresh start to yourself. File the forms and go ahead with a fresh start. And now at least, I'm sorry. Now at least start doing the compliances on time. So this was basically what does the scheme says. We'll see in the next ensuing slides what exactly are the features of the scheme, how to process, which forms are applicable, which are not, which type of company can go for the scheme and which is not. The key features of the scheme are, first, you get an immunity against additional fees for delay in undertaking of compliance. As I told you, I request the other people in the audience to keep their mic on mute, please. Thank you.
Bharat, please keep your mic on mute phone, sir.
The first key feature that you get an immunity against an additional fee. As I told you, you just have to pay your normal fee. What is applicable had you been filing the return at that time. Same fee you have to pay today. Whatever is the additional fee, that's maybe 10 times or 12 times, or maybe you consider 100 rupees per day, that's all waived off. You don't have to pay it again. So you don't have to pay it at all. Second is immunity against prosecution or proceeding arising on account of non-filing of form. So here the schemes gives you dual benefit. One, it says that whatever is the additional fee which you are supposed to pay on late filing of form, that is waived off. Second, whatever is the prosecutions or the proceedings which will be liable on the directors or the key members of the company for non-filing of any forms will also be waived off. Like that, in your prosecutions and proceedings will not be carried out, provided you file the forms and take an immunity certificate. How that filing and how that immunity certificate will be taken, we will discuss in the next slides. But here, there is a double benefit. One, additional fee. Second, waiver from prosecutions and proceedings. But this scheme gives waiver from prosecution and proceedings only when the prosecution or the proceeding is on account of non-filing of form. In case if there is any activity which is connected with this form, and in case if you have not filed the form and done an activity and there is prosecution because of that activity, there is no immunity from that. The immunity is only restricted to non-filing. Let's see that by way of an example. For example, in case of share allotment return, whenever you allot your shares, you have to file a share allotment return. And post that return, you will be able to utilize the money which you have received from that share allotment return. Now, in case if you have not filed that share allotment return, so there is a prosecution and proceedings are there against the directors and the key members of the company. Plus, in case if you have utilized the money without filing the share allotment return, there is prosecutions and proceedings against the directors of the company in whose presence or whose knowledge this activity was done. So this scheme says he will grant you immunity only against the first leg. That is where the prosecutions or any proceedings are against the directors or the key members for non-filing, and not against the second leg where you have utilized the money without filing the return. So I hope I'm clear that the immunity is only against the first leg, that is any activity which is related to non-filing of the forms. If there is something additional added to it, which it is connected to the forms, but not exactly connect, which is like once you file the form, then only you can do that activity. Over there, in case if there is any prosecutions or penalty, so there is no immunity against that. So I hope when you guide your clients about this, you update them that this scheme will give you immunity only against the form and not against any other activity which is done with your knowledge and without filing of that form. You make it very clear to the client about it. Let's understand what is the process which you need to follow to go for the scheme. They have given you 2 dates. That's one is 1st April 20 to 30th September 2020, and second is 1st October 2020 to 31st March 2021. They have said that whatever forms which are pending to be filed, you have to file between the period 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020. The plus point of this scheme is that this scheme has said that all pending forms. It has not specified any period. So you can go back 10 years also, and you can go back 7 years also, plus any form which is pending to be filed and which was due to be filed within this period, that is 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020, will also be covered over here. For example, in case of financial year 18-19, you are supposed to file its annual return, that is by the October, that is by 30th October 2019. In case if you miss to file that return, you can file it between 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020. Similarly, a form which was due to be filed during this period. For example, the MSME form, which is to be filed after the half-yearly end by 30th April. For example, if we take that half-yearly end, that is the for the period 1st September 2019 to 31st March 2020, you have to file that form by 30th April 2020. Now, as everyone knows that 30th April 2020, many people were not working. Even your clients were not working to give you any data. So just in case, even if you were working from home, but your clients could not give you the data, so you must have missed that deadline. Here, you can consider those forms also. And in case if you have not filed them, you can file them now. That's between 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020 and get the benefit of the scheme. For those forms also, you just have to pay the normal fees. No additional fees is applicable when you file that form. Once you have filed that form, the second leg comes, that is making an application for getting an immunity certificate. As I told you that there is a double benefit, that is one is additional fees is waived off and second is immunity against prosecution. So here we have done this first leg, that is we have already filed the return from 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020. Now for this second leg, that is second benefit, we have to make a separate application. That application will be made under the form CFSS 2020. The time period to make an application is 1st October 2020 to 31st March 2021. So once you have done one leg activity, that's this, you have to go ahead and do this second one. Just in case if you miss out and you do it only the first leg activity, that is this, you just file your returns with a normal fee and the additional fee is waived off, and you miss out filing this form, the effect would be that you will get only one benefit, and that the prosecution and the proceedings which are to be carried out for non-filing of the form will still be there, and your directors will still be exposed to that risk. So you have to remember that you have to carry out both the activities. Also, I would like to tell over here, there are many people who have, before the scheme was out, they must have already filed their forms and, have paid that additional fee and all. Those people cannot take the benefit of this leg because the forms were already filed before 1st April 2020. Here, this immunity certificate would be available only for forms which are filed between 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020. So in case if you have already filed any form in the past and you have paid the additional fee also, now obviously there's a risk on your directors because they have done a non-compliances, and you feel like, no, I want to keep my directors secure, let's get an immunity certificate and apply under this scheme. I'm sorry, it will not be available. It is available only to those forms which are filed during this period. This form is not yet out. Obviously, like it's still time, 1st October 2020. So I think by somewhere around September end, government will obviously come out with this form. Okay, here it is important that once this application is filed and processed, then only you can go for this immunity certificate application. There are certain forms which when you file it, they go straight through process. Like the moment you file it, within the next 15-20 minutes, you get an email also that it is taken up straight for process and ROC has considered it. Like that is, it's processed by the department. They have whatever data you have given, they have, put it in their records. Question comes when suppose in those cases where, the form is yet not taken up for process, or you have filed the return, but the ROC has not yet processed it. For example, let's consider that you have filed the return on 30th September 2020 at 11:45 p.m. Now, obviously, like ROC also needs some time, like if it's a Saturday or Sunday, or might be the server is down, they have not yet processed it. So you have to wait till the ROC processes the application, and then post that you will be able to file this immunity certificate. Just in case, 11:45 you go and file the application, and then by 12:05 you say now it's okay, 1st October aa gaya hai, chalo mujhe CFS bhi saath mein file kar deta hu. Sorry, you'll not be able to file it. You have to wait till this return is processed by the ROC department, and then you can file this CFSS form. This scheme is inapplicable to certain companies. Let's understand which companies. Like when I said the first company fresh starts scheme, there I said that it's applicable to all companies. Yes, it's applicable to almost all companies, maybe like foreign subsidiary companies or needy companies, all companies. But yes, government has identified some cases wherein in case if your company is falling under that cases, then this scheme is not applicable to them. Let's see which are those cases. First, as I told you, it's applicable for a company only and not an LLP. For LLP, there is a different settlement scheme. Just like how company has a company fresh start schemes 2020, LLP also has a scheme, LLP settlement scheme 2020. The features are more or less so similar only, but yes, obviously the forms and the applicability and non-applicability varies a little bit. So in case if you are dealing with both, like your clients are both company as well as LLP, for companies you need to see company fresh start scheme, and for LLP you need to see LLP settlement scheme. Those are two different schemes for taking out a benefit, but yes, government has given a benefit to both. Following companies are ineligible for the scheme. 1. Companies against which a final notice for striking of companies has already been initiated. Okay, I'll just give you a little bit background of striking off of the companies. In case when you feel that your company is not doing any activity and you want to shut down the company, in that case, first you have to make an application to ROC. There are different forms, STK 2, 1 and all. You have to file those forms, update ROC that you want to close the companies. Before making an application, you need to ensure that all your compliances are being done. Once you make an application, if the ROC feels that the application is proper, it will go ahead with the second step. In case if not, it will come back to you saying that you have to rectify these errors which can be seen in the form and ask you to resubmit the form. In case of resubmission, obviously you need to rectify those errors in your form and again resubmit it. Once the ROC has again taken it for processing and it feels that yes, all the information given is proper, all your compliances are done, it gives a notice to all the key members of the company, your directors, your creditors and everything, that this company is supposed to be striked off. In case if you have any reasons to believe that this company should not be striked off, submit as those reasons with evidences. And if you feel that the reasons and the evidences are quite evident enough, then you will not strike off. So here, in this case, as I told you, the notice will be given to all the key members. In case where already a final notice is given to the key members for striking of the company, this scheme is not applicable to them. This can happen only when you have missed any compliances and ROC also has missed considering that these compliances are not done by you. Second, where an application is already filed by the company for striking off the name of the company. As I told you, the process of striking off, the first step is where you file an application. So this is the first step where the application is already filed by the company. ROC says that when you are filing an application, you have ensured that all your past compliances are completed. So now how are you taking the benefit of this scheme? Because if these compliances are already done and you have already filed the form, you cannot go back and say that, oh sir, I forgot to file this form. Now I want to take the benefit of the scheme and file this previous form. No. Once you have already filed an application, then you are not eligible. However, just considering that you have already filed an application and ROC comes back and says that there is a default in this form, we allow you to resubmit this form by say today's day, like 19 July 2020. In case if you do not resubmit this by 19 July 2020, we will consider your application stand to be cancelled. And 19 July 2020 has passed out. Your application is cancelled. Then you are out of this league and you can take the benefit of the scheme. However, yes, when you read the words of this circular which gives this scheme, it says where an application is already filed, you have to debate that though the application was filed, at present when you are going for the scheme, the application stands to be cancelled. So there is no application to be filed. Third goes for companies which are amalgamated under a scheme of arrangement or compromise under the Act. That's in case where two companies or might be more than two companies have amalgamated and a new amalgamated company has gone. Those companies are not eligible to do their previous compliances under this scheme. The reason behind this is that ROC is saying that if you have done such a big activity of amalgamation, you have done all the processes under an RSC, you cannot give a small excuse that sir, मैं पुराना return compliance करना भूल गया. They are considering that if you have done such a big check activity, when you get amalgamated, you do quite a checks are there that whether you have done all the compliances or not, your taxes are paid or not, who's your debtor, your creditors have been informed, what is your assets. When you have done so much of activity, you have done so much of review work while amalgamating, how can you miss this small thing? We assume that you have done this small, you have taken care of this small thing, and that's the reason we have kept you out of this scheme. Fourth is where an application has already been filed for obtaining dormant status. Dormant status. Anyone has any idea what is dormant status? Anyone in the audience? Okay, no problem. I'll tell you. Basically, dormant status means what? Your company was formed, assuming like, 1st March 2020, your company was formed with, carrying out any activity. However, COVID situation came in, and now you feel that the project for which you have formed a company is no more going to be there for, next 1 year or 2 years. But you feel that yes, after 2 years, your company still has a scope to carry out a business. If you go for surrendering of a company, again after 2 years, you have to go for formation of a company. So you go to ROC and you say that, sir, for the next 2 years, we don't see any scope of business in a company. We don't see any new activity or any activity to be done under the company. So you allow us some benefit in delay in filing of returns. Currently, since we don't have any activity, there is no point in filing the returns and all. So that's the reason you give us a dormant status. Once your company is allotted a dormant status, you don't have to do any compliances which are there as per the yearly compliances. You just have to file one form that's there applicable to a dormant company, and your compliances is done. So here, when ROC is saying that if you are already allotted a dormant status, means what, your company has done no activity. Now, why do you require the benefit of the scheme? Because you had no activity. So where does the question comes of any compliances of the previous period? So the final which companies which are not allowed to take a benefit of this scheme is companies where a final notice for striking off is already given. Second, companies which have already filed an application for striking off. Third, companies which are amalgamated. Fourth, where application has already been obtained for a dormant status. And fifth, vanishing company. These 5 are the only exceptional through which the scheme is not applicable. Apart from that, whichever company you have, like maybe it be a holding company or a subsidiary company of a foreign company or a nidhi company, any type of company, those companies will allow you to take this benefit of the scheme. That is companies Fresh Start Scheme 2020. And in case if they have not done any compliances in the past, it's a good time and opportunity for you to go back and ask your clients to do this, take the benefit of the scheme, do the compliances by payment of nominal fee, and save a good amount in additional fees, waiver of additional fees. As there is a restriction and the type of companies also, like as we have seen that these type of companies are not allowed to be a part of the scheme. Similarly, there are few forms also which are not allowed to be filed under the scheme. Means what? In case if you have missed filing those forms, you can file those forms now also, but you will have to pay normal fee as well as additional fee. Let's see which type of forms are there. It says it's not applicable for forms related to increase in authorized capital or creation of charge or modification therein. That means in case if you have already, like, where this problem will come, we'll explain that also. Suppose you have already done any private placements in your company without, increase in your authorized capital. The placement is also done and your company is, running. Now suddenly this came up and you realize, oh my God, my paid up capital is quite higher than my authorized capital. Or you have already done this activity, and when your auditor identifies it while filing his, preparing his balance sheet, that the authorized capital is quite lower than the paid up capital, or is less than the paid up capital. It points out and is, observation. And now you realize, okay, ठीक है, चलो ये scheme आ रहा है, इसमें benefit ले लेते हैं. No, the scheme is not applicable in that case. In case of increased unauthorized capital, in case if you have missed filing the form, you have to file the form now and pay the additional fee also, plus the immunity which the scheme was giving for prosecution or proceedings against any of the directors, that will always be there against the directors which have missed doing these compliances. Second goes for creation of charge or modification therein. Suppose if your company has taken an overdraft or a loan against the assets of the firm, they have to file a charge, a form of charge, creation of charge form with the ROC, updating the ROC that this asset is now under a lien up to this much amount of loan taken by them. In case where you modify the loan amount, say for example, the earlier loan amount was of 10 lakh rupees against your plant and machinery. Your plant and machinery might be running into the value, might be running into costs. As per your balance sheet, it's say like 5 crore. But still, since you are taking a loan, you have to give something, some asset as a guarantee. So you have given this plant and machinery. Once this loan is sanctioned, you have to update ROC that this plant and machinery is under a lien up to rupees 10 lakh rupees. That is called creation of charge. In case if you have reduced the loan amount, or the other way around, you have increased the loan amount against the same asset, you have to again update ROC that there is a modification in the charge and the amount is now increased. Or might be other way around. You say that I don't want to lien my plant and machinery. I want to lien it at a different place. Since this is a very small amount of 10 lakh rupees, I will give one of my assets, which is almost up to 10 lakh rupees. Here the amount is same, but the asset has changed. Again, you have to update ROC. This is required. Why? Because ROC needs to have a complete knowledge about your books of accounts. When you file your annual returns, you give them your balance sheet. It gives a clear picture that these are your assets, these are your debtors, these are your creditors, this is the loans which have issued, this is the debentures which you have given, this is the deposits which you have with you. As I told you, once you become a company, you are quite responsible towards the shareholders as well as towards the public, because public trust you. You are a going concern, private limited firm. They look forward to you because they know once, even if the director is not there, the company will still be a going concern and it's worth investing in a company rather than a proprietorship firm. Because proprietorship firm, there is still always, harm that, might be the proprietor might run off, or, they might run into losses. In case if he expires, who will take over? But in case of a company, it's already running off. That's the reason RSU always wants to keep a track record of all the activities which you do. That's the reason, this creation of charges is coming into picture. And for this creation, as well as modification of charges, there's already a separate circular which allows you to, which has given you a extended date period to file the returns in time. Now you need to see how it is beneficial to your companies or to your clients. This scheme which we have discussed, you understood the scheme is applicable to whom, it's not applicable, it's applicable to whom and whom not, and which other firms which can be covered in this scheme. Now you need to see how it will be beneficial to your client and how you can pitch into him to get this activity done. First, you have to see which all clients of yours are a company. You have shortlisted them, then identify what are the compliances which they have not done, and pick out a list and say what is the nominal fee which they are supposed to pay and what would be the additional fee had this scheme not be there. Go back to your client stating that in case if you do this much, only for comply all with your compliances now, you will save the additional fee amount. Secondly, in case if you know that your client has formed a company but has not done any activity or in the past few years, or has formed a company, has done some transactions also, but since the past few years they are not doing any activity, here they can take a benefit of this scheme, file all their pending forms and go ahead with either asking a dormant status for the company where they feel that the company might be used in the future to do any future activity, or the activity which has taken an halt might be continued in the future. Or second, complete all your compliances and then go for striking of an application. I already told you that once you've already filed in strike of application, you cannot go for this scheme. But yes, this you can take the benefit before filing of striking of application. That is, file all your pending forms and then go for striking off. this points will be helpful for you in case where what I have seen is generally people are not quite ready. There's no readiness as regards to payment for any fee to ROC. They feel that they have already are doing many compliances under the income tax law, like the statutory audit, concurrent audit, the internal audit, and then tax audit. Apart from that, there's GST also, which says that you have to do GST audit also. Now, as a ROC consultant, you are coming and you're saying that you have to do file your returns to ROC also. The same information is going to all the authorities, like maybe not in the same way, but more or less the same information is going. The balance sheet is going to your statutory audit to income tax portal. Your sales figures and your purchase figures and your P&L account is going to the GST authorities to the GST audit. Now the same information which was there in your balance sheet and P&L will be given to the ROC also through this ROC compliances. So they feel that they are doing a repeated activity. That's the reason they say it's too much compliances, and there is a high tendency that they keep doing these compliances without knowing what are the consequences in the future. You have to go back and update them that, sir, in case if you don't file your returns, then there's a possibility that the company might issue, the ROC might issue you a notice, not only to the companies as well as the directors. There's a prosecution as well on the directors. Plus, you have to pay a heavy additional fee for non-filing of the forms. Here, you can take the benefit of the scheme, do all your past compliances and get rid of this additional fee, as well as get an immunity from prosecution and offense on the directors. There are certain special cases which have been identified by the ROC, and they have given a clarification in their circular that just in case if you are following under this situation, then what will be the scheme will be applicable to you and what will be the benefit given to you. Means like what action you have to do to get the benefit. The first is that if an appeal is already filed against any notice issued or complaint filed or an order passed by the court or by an educating authority under the Act for default in filing of statutory forms, then an application for immunity certificate shall be filed only after the appeal is withdrawn and the applicant has furnished a proof of withdrawal of the application. That means what? Earlier in the past, say we go back to your financial year 18-19. You have not done the annual compliances of financial year 18-19. You have already got a notice for that year. Once the notice is issued, you say that I am not going to do the compliances because the cost of doing the compliances plus additional fee is quite high enough. So you are fighting against that notice. Notice is also issued, the order is also received. And now you say that you want to go for an appeal and you have already gone an appeal. Stating either might be for waiver of additional fee or asking them to give a benefit of lower fee or anything, for which you have already gone an appeal before the scheme was out. Now, since this scheme is out, the government says that in case if you want to take the benefit of the scheme and file your pending forms, we will give you the benefit of the scheme. Plus, if you want an immunity certificate also from us for your directors, we will give you that immunity certificate also. But first, you have to withdraw that appeal. Give us a proof that you have withdrawn that appeal in your application which you're going to submit in CFSS 2020. Post that only we will give you this immunity certificate. Because government also wants to reduce its workload. There are already many appeals filed pending before the court of law for ROC matters. In case where the appeal is only regarding non-compliances, and this scheme is there where you can file your returns with the nominal fee and without payment of additional fee, the government is saying take the benefit of this scheme. We will give you the benefit, but provided you withdraw your appeal. So at least even our cases are down, like closed. You withdraw the appeal and then only we'll give you the immunity certificate. That is one leg benefit we will give you. But before taking the benefit of the second leg, you withdraw the appeal and then take the benefit. Now the second case. In case where an order is already received, but an appeal is yet to be filed, or the date of filing an appeal has expired between 1st March 2020 to 31st May 2020. Then an additional time period of 120 days would be given from the last date. Now this first case was what? An appeal is already filed. We come down to the second case where the appeal is not yet filed, or the time period for filing the return was there between 1st March 2020 to 31st May, where the COVID situation was very worse. And it is expired between this period. So if I am in that situation where, I have already received an order and now I was supposed to file an appeal, between this appeal filing stage, this scheme comes up. When I go for an appeal, obviously I have to do an compliances also. The appeal will be only regards payment of additional fee and the prosecution and the penalty amount. Government says obviously you have to do the compliances, because basis this compliance only I will come to know that what are your activities, and I have to keep updating my record. As an appellant, I feel as per the order, I get only a period of like 30 days or might be 60 days only. Whereas the person who is not under appeal or who has not received this notice is getting a period of 6 months. That's 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020 to take the benefit of this scheme. So it's an injustice with me, where that person is given a period of 6 months. I'm just getting a period of 1 or 2 months only to do the compliance of this number of pending of years for which an order is received. So here ROC comes up and says, no problem. If that period is getting 6 months, we will give you a period of 120 days additional. That is the period which is already there in your appeal, that's 30 days or 60 days, which is already utilized. Apart from that, we'll also give you a period of 120 days more from the last date to do this compliances. In case if you don't want to do this in this 120 days, you can either go for the scheme and close the matter, or alternatively you can take the benefit of the scheme. File your compliances in this 120 days. ROC has also issued the list of forms which are eligible to be filed under this scheme. Once this scheme was out, ROC was continuously getting queries, or you can say questions as to whether this form is applicable under the scheme or not, irrespective, when they have clearly issued that at 7 and creation of charge, that's alteration of authorized capital and creation or modification of charge are the only 2 forms which are not applicable to the scheme. Still, they were continuously getting queries as to whether whether I can file this form in the scheme or not, whether I can go for AOC 4 or not, whether I can go for XBRL or not for this scheme. That's the reason they themselves have come out with a list which specifies all the forms which can be filed under this scheme. Let's have a look at them also. Here, if you see, they have covered both the Act 1956 as well as later when I move, they have considered Companies Act 2013 also. I don't know how many have filed their ROC returns in their articleship, or might be those people who are practicing before 2013. They must have seen this form, that's 23AC, 20B, 21A, 23B. Obviously, the forms have changed now. But yes, in case if you are doing any compliances for the period prior to 2013, then obviously you have to go ahead and you have to file these forms, that's 23AC, 20B, depending upon what type of non-compliance you have done, and take the benefit of the scheme. Wherever you are crossing 2013, that's the new form is applicable from 1st April 2013. Sorry, from 1st April 2014. Here you can see the list of forms which are applicable to this scheme. From here, Companies Act 2013 has started. Even XBRL forms are also allowed to be filed under this scheme. Many people who have missed, declaration of commencement of business in 20A can take the benefit of this scheme and, go for it. Active status in 22A. Many have missed filing that also because they were not aware about this form. DPT3, return of deposit, that needs to be filed at the year end. Many times since the books of accounts are not final, or the auditor is not able, or you are not able to give to the auditor the complete data which is final. They are not able to give you what is the final figure of loans or deposit lying in your book. That's the reason there is delay in returns of deposits. Many time a call is taken that okay, चलो additional fee pay करना ही है, तो जब हम return final करेंगे तभी हम ये return file कर देंगे. Now for the last year, financial year 1920, you still have time in case if you have not filed it. If you see almost all types of returns, return of allotment, PS3, then return of deposits, then MGT6, return to the registrar, annual returns, change in shareholding patterns, almost all the forms are covered over here. AOC4 consolidated financial statements. When it comes to XBRL, ADT1, many people have, there is a change in auditor. T1, change in auditor. ICICI have taken an NOC from the previous auditor, or after that, give NOC, but like taking up the time. File up the new audit.
Maybe there was some net issue. Yes, you're audible.
Auditor.
Shilpa ji, you are not audible.
Shilpa ji, can you hear us? You may try, Akash, you can mute her camera. Maybe that will help the speed.
Am I audible now? I have changed my internet connection.
Yes, you are audible now.
Yes. Now you.
Okay. Okay, so we were going through the list of forms which are, eligible to be filed under the scheme. As I told that ROC is completely, continuously getting queries as to which form is we can file and which not. So ROC itself has come out with a list of forms wherein they have said that these are the list of forms which you can file. It is that just you have to go to the forms and see where you can take a benefit. As I told, ADT 1, 2, and 3. In the past, where you have switched from the previous auditor to a new auditor, you must have taken an NOC from the previous auditor as per the ICAI guidelines. You must have updated that also in your ROC portal and the income tax portal and everything. But missed updating to the ROC. Here, there is a chance for you that you can file your ADT 1 with a normal fee and without payment of additional fee. Similarly, you must have filed your appointment but failed to give a notice of resignation to the previous auditor, that is ADT 3. Here, there is a chance for you to do that activity without payment of additional fee and ensure that all the compliances of the past period are done. TR3 KYC, that's a web form. That's a KYC form for all the directors. Many directors were not even having a knowledge that they were required to do this activity. Or there are many sleeping directors, wherein like companies formed, 3 directors are there, 2 directors are working actively, and one is like, as a sleeping partner. That person was not even aware that he was required to do this activity. Since this activity was not done, he was regarded as a qualified director and he could not do any compliances where his signatures is required. Now it's the time for you that you can do this compliances also. DR11, where you need to give a resignation of a director to a registrar. In case if the director is still in case if the director is still in presence, he might intimate you.
Akash, Manthan ji and Rakhi ji, we need to mute.
In case the director is already present. Just in case, for example, the director was a sleeping director and he expired. I'm taking a worst case scenario. We have seen a case also. Now he's not going to come down and tell you that, oh, okay, I'm expired now, remove me from the director list. It's you who need to update to the ROC portal that this person is no more and remove that director. But in case if that is also missed, or the directors, the company is not aware that this activity is also required to be done. You can update them that, okay, this activity is also required to be done. Please do it and file your returns in time. Okay, I got a query from Akash stating that company which is registered in 2016 not filed any form till date. Can we get the benefit? Yes, you can take the benefit, provided those forms are not related to creation or modification of any charge or alteration of the authorized capital. Rest any forms are there pending, you can take the benefit. You see the list. This list has almost all the forms. Maybe active form that's over here, or maybe the declaration of commencement certificate in case if it's applicable to you. 2016, this case is not applicable to you. But yes, almost all the forms are covered over here. Even the annual filing, the worst to waste, like XBRL, where we say that when your turnover is exceeding a specified limit, or your total capital is exceeding a specified limit, then only XBRL is applicable to you. Even those forms are covered over here. So irrespective of your turnover, irrespective of your authorized capital, this benefit is given to all the companies. I got a second query. If the company has not done any activity, can the company file an application for dormant company from an earlier date? Suggest that yes, first you do all the company compliances and then you have to go ahead and file an application to the ROC. It is up to the ROC whether they'll give you from an earlier date or not. I feel the chances are still very low because the ROC will say that if you know that the compliances were not required to be done in the past, you should have come earlier Now, after so many years, if you're coming to me for a dormant status, I doubt they will give you. But what alternatively you can do is, since I told you that these compliances will not have any additional fee, you can take the benefit and file the returns with a nominal fee and then go for this dormant status. DR12, I'm continuing with the forms. DR12, where you have to give a list about the key management personnel changes, even in case if you have a managing director or a secretary, company secretary also. Though it doesn't exist the post of a director, but yes, it's regarded as a key managerial person. There you are also required to update to the RSC that this person is either appointed or is being removed, or in case of a change in their directorship also. For example, a person was earlier a professional director or a non-executive director. Now from this year, he'll be a managing director. This change is also required to be intimated to the ROC. There are certain very small compliances which, in case if you don't have a knowledge about the company's law or you don't have a company secretary working with you, there is a high possibility that he as a consultant might misses, because we are so engrossed in income tax compliances and GST. GST, every day something is coming up new. We are just running behind, getting the updates and trying to, match up to the government's level and do the compliances. But there are very small activity which the client, keeps on doing it. He might not even update you that first this person was a non-executive director. Now we are making him as the managing director. He will just like, from tomorrow, come on, Nikunj Vigaria is the managing director. He will be responsible for signing all the documents. It's an internal discussion. You might not be even updated. It's only when, the balance sheet comes to you for signing, you become aware, okay, nahi, ab ye person sign karne wala hai. So here you have to go back and see what all other small compliances or what all activities might be a small steps which your client has done and where he has missed filing or missed updating the ROC about it. Those forms, you can file it now with a payment of nominal fee and without payment of any additional fee. You can update the client about it and ask him to get it filed. Foreign companies also, which are required to file a different form under FC 1, 2, 3, and 4, can also take a benefit of this scheme. Needy companies also, where NDH 1, 2, 3, 4 is applicable, can be taken. Form of intimation of appointment of cost auditor is also here. DEN 2, this form which was introduced last year back, DEN 2 and GNL 2, where you are required to specify the beneficial interest of the person in your company. Many people were very confused as to what is beneficial interest, and they must have not filed the form, considering that this is not applicable to you. Now, if you are clear with the concept and you have understood it, please file this return and take the benefit of this scheme. These are few more forms, which can be filed by a company and for this investor education and protection fund. Apart from the list of forms which the ROC has issued, they have also given us the FAQs, where they have answered many questions which are repeatedly coming in people's mind. Let's have a look at them also. I'll increase the size so that everyone can see.
But size won't be an issue because attendees can zoom their screen to have a view.
Okay. So I'll keep it a normal 100%. These are some of the FAQs. We'll just have a look at it in case if there is some questions which is arising in your mind and you would like, to get an answer. Might be that answer might be probably covered over here. This FAQ is a combined FAQ for company fresh start scheme and LLP modified settlement scheme. As I told you, LLP has a different settlement scheme. The rules for LLP were introduced twice. So the first rule was called LLP settlement scheme, and then there was a modification in that scheme. That is, the rules were a little bit modified. Hence, the name is LLP Modified Settlement Scheme 2020. We will see only the FAQs which are related to Company Fresh Start Scheme 2020. The first, I'm not going through all the FAQs, just the ones which I feel, might be some frequent questions which have been coming up. First, is the CFS 2020 applicable on a foreign company? Will the forms FC1, FC2, and FC3 be covered under the scheme? So the answer is yes. We have just saw that, FC1, FC2, and FC3 can also be filed. Can deactivated director activated through this scheme? Yes, he can file DR3 KYC form and INC 20A active as applicable without any payment of fee, provided such director is not disqualified under Section 164 of the Companies Act 2013. This disqualification is the normal disqualification which is applicable on all the directors. That is, he should not have any of his relatives in the company. He should not be indebted towards the company and all. Apart from that, in case if he has not done his KYC, as I told you, it's important that every director needs to do his KYC. In case if he has not done, he'll become a deactivated director. By filing DI3 KYC through this scheme, he need not pay any additional fee. He can get himself activated, and then he'll be liable to file, or like he can file all the forms which requires his signature. Should the returns be to be filed for the subsidiary where its holding is currently under liquidation, but the returns related to a period where the holding has its normal business activity? How to deal with this? So yes, you are allowed that the subsidiary can file it for the holding period which is under liquidation. Under this scheme, whether AOC 4 for a year can be filed without filing the AOC for the previous year. So the scheme says yes, you can file without filing for the previous year. There is no restriction. However, it is expected that to complete and continuous year filing without skipping intermediate year will be good corporate governance. So there are many cases where, when a client has come up to you, say from 2018, they have not done their compliances from the past period, and you're still facing challenges, in getting the data from the previous auditor. You can say, okay, fine, till the time we don't get the data from the previous auditor, at least let us start doing the compliances from 2017 under the scheme. As in, when you get the data from the previous auditor, or maybe by other means, like from, taking out from the income tax portal or any other means, where you can arrange the data from the previous year, you may do the compliances for the previous year also. There is no such restriction where, you have to first initially file it for previous year and then go for compliances of the other years. Whether CFS scheme is applicable for the companies which have been automatically struck off due to non-filing of annual documents, that is annual returns. If you remember, a few years back, ROC had struck off many companies which had not undertaken their compliances or not filed their annual returns for a specific period given by the law. If you go back and you see to the ROC portal and you see the company's master data and you open it, you can see that at the bottom of the status of the company, the words written are striked off. Those are those companies which have not done their compliances for the past period. In case, what does the question says? Whether this scheme can be applicable to those companies also which were being striked off. The restriction was where an application of strike off is already filed. Here the case is where it is already striked off. So the answer is that you have to first approach the NCLT and for reviving this company, that is the strike off should be removed and this company should be revived. Once the copy of the order is received and your company has been revived again, then you can go ahead and file all your pending forms. Applicability of CFS to a foreign company having project office in India. Yes, CSS is applicable to foreign companies also. For filing MGT 14 or AOC 4 for the past year, do we need to apply for condemnation also? So here the answer is for filing MGT 14 beyond 300 days, condonation is required. However, for AOC 4 for the past year can be filed without any condemnations. So the condemnation is only for MGT 14 as it was there earlier. But yes, the fee will not be there, but the process of filing and condemnation will be required. If the company is in active mode, but the
Shilpa, you are not audible. Shilpa ji, you are not audible to us.
Shilpa madam, I think net issue है.
They were the questions.
Yes, now you are audible.
11th one. I'm sorry, there was a network connection. 11th one. If the company is in active mode, but the directors then are deactivated, what should we do? So here, as I told you, if the director has not done their KYC and the DIN has been deactivated, then what should we do? First, go ahead and do your DIA3 KYC, activate the director's DIN number, and then go ahead and do the compliances for the company which are already active. There are many people who are facing these issues. Suppose there are two directors in a company. One director has, is quite compliant one, and he has done all the compliances. But the second director has not done it. Wherever only one director is required to sign the ROC forms, all your compliances are getting done. But wherever both the directors are required to do it, since the second director is a non-compliant one or has not done his KYC, you cannot file these forms. Because of one person, the entire company is suffering. Here, you can go back and ask the person that this scheme is for you also. Please take a benefit of this scheme, undertake all your compliances, and then once both the directors have become activated, go back and do all your compliances. Last year, when this active status had come, or where the companies were being striked off, the major reason was that one, the company was not having any activity, but still the directors wanted to continue with the name of the company because they were of this feeling that might be after 1 year or 2 years, or maybe we are just about to start a business, but the business is not getting cracked off. That's the reason they cannot take the status of a dormant nature also, because they feel that anytime the business can pop in. But because of XYZ reason, the business is not popping up, or they are so engrossed in their other business activity that they are not able to give time to this company. Now it's time where it's possible for you to do all the compliances of those inactive company, or where directors are still deactivated. Activate them and undertake the compliances of those companies. 12th query of FAQ. In our case, the company was struck off, and as a result, both the directors were disqualified. Now, company was revived by NCLT, and revival order has been passed. How to remove disqualification of director under section 164(2)(a)? The answer is the removal of disqualification is not automatic, and the same cannot be cured under the provisions of the CA 2013. That is, you have to go back and you have to remove the disqualification. That cannot be done automatically. You have to go back and do the entire procedure. Inc 28 is not filed till date, as it is required to be filed within 30 days. The answer is in 28 can be filed by an authorized signatory who can be added from backend by the jurisdictional ROC based on evidence produced by the company. Again, this scheme is not applicable to them. You have to go back and do at the backend only. You have to go back to the ROC, inform them that there is a default which has been done, and now we want to file it. Please add the authorized signatory. Once the authorized signatory is added, then 28 can be filed. How to do annual filing for the past year? Past year filings can be made as per the applicable norms. So here, in case where your company was striked off, as I told you that few years back, ROC had striked off many companies where the annual compliances are not done. After getting the status of strike off, the directors woke up and said, no, we are doing activities. In case if we strike off this company, it's a big loss to us. Go back and get it revived. You have taken all the efforts, gone to NCLT and revived this company. But obviously, it's not only the revival which matters. The directors which are disqualified needs to be activated. All the pending compliances needs to be done. Some pending compliances you can take the benefit of the scheme, but wherever it's not possible to change the authorized signatory and all, you have to again go back to the ROC and get it done. 13. Can a company also file its old annual returns for 3 to 4 years without late fee? Yes, you can do it for n number of years you want. It's not only 3 to 4 years, you can go up to 10 to 20 years also. Quoting, the company is an inactive company. The company has defaulted in filing Form SF7. It now wants to file Form SF7 under CFS's 2020 scheme and simultaneously make application for striking of the name by filing Form STK2. Let me tell you guys, SF7 is for change in authorized capital. As we had discussed earlier in the previous slide, where we said that which forms are not eligible for this scheme. There were two types. One is change in authorized capital and second was creation or modification of charge. So here, where the question is whether I can file SF7 or not, the answer is no. You cannot go for this scheme. You can file it, but not go for this scheme. You have to file it post payment of normal as well as additional fee. And the additional fee waiver will not be for this SF7. Let us know the list. That list we have already seen. The 16th question, a company was not able to file satisfaction of charge in CHS4 as the DIN of the director was deactivated. Now with this scheme, can the company first update its return, get the DIN activated, and then file CHS4 under this scheme, even though there is a delay of 1 year? So here there are many non-compliances. One, the satisfaction of charge was not filed. Second, the DIN of the director was deactivated. So here, deactivated DIN can be reactivated by filing DR3 KYC now without payment of INR 5,000. 5,000 was the penalty which you had to pay in case if you have not done your KYC in time. Because of this scheme, you need not pay this 5,000 rupees. You can get it activated. Filing of CHS4 towards satisfaction of charge beyond 300 days is not permissible. However, for delay in filing of satisfaction of charge, form number CHA8 may be filed and the power of such continuation of delay is vested with the regional director. So your two queries are there. One, director's DIN is deactivated, and second, satisfaction of charge. Satisfaction of charge will not have a benefit of this scheme had it been below 1 year also. Plus, since now it is above 1 year, there is you cannot go for change in satisfaction of charge. However, there is a new form, that's form number CH8, where you can file that form to the regional director, asking him to condone the delay for non-filing of this satisfaction of charge form. It's important, guys, that whenever you create a charge and when it is satisfied, you also file the satisfaction of charge. Satisfaction of charge means what? An asset which was earlier on lien is now no more on lien. It is free of any debt. It is important because when you go off to sell your company or, sell off the shares of the company or go for merger or amalgamation or anything, it matters which of your assets are under lien, because the person who is acquiring your company will see how much you are indebted, whether your assets are able to pay it or not, and which part of your assets are already against a lien, because he knows that this much of the part will never be available to you till the time you do not fulfill all your loans or do not complete all your loans. So even if you have actually closed your loan and the property is now free of lien, but as per the ROC portal, it is still showing that there is a charge created against this property. You have to ensure that you update ROC and tell them that this asset is no more in lien. That is, file satisfaction of charge in CH4. Next question: if CSS 2020 scheme applicable to a subsidiary of a foreign company registered in India and foreign company itself? The answer is yes. We have already seen that the forms which they can file. 18th question, that's can LLP with it's an LLP one. We'll go to the 19th question. Can we file STK2 without filing in 20A in the scheme? A company has not started its business and even bank account is not opened by the company. So want to strike off the name and close company to avoid any defaults and penalties. I'm sure many of you will have these questions because many times clients open their company with a purpose, but by the time the company is formed, either the collaboration between the two directors has broken or the purpose for which the company was formed is now no more required. I myself have a case where the company is formed, but the company has no activities. Even the bank account of the company is also not open. The answer to this is STK2 can be filed by a company who has not filed in 20A within 180 days of incorporation. After a period of 180 days of incorporation, filing of form in 20A is allowed to be filed first. Thereafter, they can file STK2 if they desire, so by following the relevant provisions of the Act. So you can go for in 20A where 180 days has crossed, because for filing or striking of a company, you at least have to wait for 180 days. In 20A is commencement of certificate form. Now, if you are making a new company right now, within once the company is formed, within 180 days of incorporation, you are compulsory required to file in 20A and get a commencement certificate from the ROC. However, if you have not done any activity, obviously you are not going to file your in 20A also. After 180 days is crossed, first file your in 20A, take the benefit of this scheme. Many people were also under this impression कि यार अभी 180 days तो निकल गया है, अब मैं अगर in 20A फाइल करूंगा तो मुझे काफी सारा एडिशनल फी करके अमाउंट पे करना होगा. ऑलरेडी दोनों डायरेक्टर्स ये कंपनी को बंद करना चाहते हैं. अगर मैं कोई एडिशनल फी बोलूंगा तो बोलेंगे कि नहीं, रहने दो, छोड़ दो, मत फाइल करो. और प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड दैट अगर आप ये कंपनी में कंप्लायंसेस नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो बीइंग अ डायरेक्टर ऑफ दिस कंपनी यू आर गेटिंग डिस्क्वालिफाइड. And other companies where you are a director, you will be disqualified over there also, and you cannot undertake compliances of that company. So your default in one company will affect your directorship or in other different companies where you are also a director. 20th question: how to rectify AOC4 filed with inadvertent errors? So the answer is AOC4 or any other STP form. STP means straight through process form filed with inadvertent errors can be marked as defective by the judicial ROC based on evident and formal request. Once the particular STP is marked as defective, fresh filing has to be made. So in case if you have filed anything wrongly in your AOC4 form, either the ROC themselves identify the defect and they give you as a that this is regarded as a defective return, you have to file it again. Or just in case if the ROC has not observed it or has missed or overlooked it, then you can go back to the ROC, update them that this is the error which you have done in the AOC4 form. Please regard that form as defective and allow me to file a new form in that case. Till the your form is not defective, you cannot file a new fresh AOC 4. The 21st question, a company already filed MGT 7, but AOC 4 is not yet filed. Can it file AOC 4 now? Answer is yes, because both the forms are having no connection with each other. They are both are separate. You can file it anytime. But yes, the data in both the forms are like, so in case if you have submitted data in MGT 7 and that data doesn't matches with the data which you have filed in AOC 4, you will obviously get an error stating that the data which you have submitted in MGT 7 does not matches with the data submitted in AOC 4. Next question, where orders have been passed by the Honorable NCLT to restore the name of the company under section 252 or 253, subject to filing of all the pending documents and returns, and no time limit is given in the order to file the pending documents. The company has not yet filed the copy of order of NCLT with ROC. Can company avail the scheme and file the all pending documents without any additional fee? The answer is yes. You can do so after filing in 28 with a copy of order passed by NCLT. So you can get this benefit. Third is a very interesting question. I think many of you have thought about it. That is this not a hardship with the people who have already filed their returns in the time? So ROC is also smart enough. They have given a very quite witty reply. They say that this scheme has been notified in view of COVID-19 to provide a first of its kind opportunity to both companies and LLPs to make good any filing related to defaults, irrespective of duration of default, and make a fresh start as a fully compliant entity. Obviously, I agree with you guys. It's an injustice with the people who have done the filing in time. They have already paid the fees, and those who are going to file it now are going to pay, without an additional fee. They have saved or they have earned the interest on the cash flow which was required to be paid. But yes, as the ROC says, that even they want to ensure that all the companies are compliant, make a fresh start. They have, and since COVID-19 is also there, many people are not able to do the compliances. This scheme is introduced with that intention only. For filing commencement of business form to newly incorporated companies, now additional 180 days is allowed. But which companies are allowed such benefit? What is the cutoff date for newly incorporated companies? That is to companies incorporated from which date this benefit will get passed on. So there's already a circular issued in March 20 related to this topic. It has nothing to do with this company scheme. The next question was, in the case of a company whose status as per MCA is active for filing, but whose all directors are disqualified, what is the way out to avail the benefit for the fresh start scheme? As we already told you, that remove the disqualifications of the directors. There is a difference between disqualification of a director and deactivated director. A deactivated director is a director who has not done his KYC. That director can take the benefit of this scheme, undertake all the KYC without payment of 5,000 rupees, get himself activated, and then do this compliances. Whereas a disqualified director is a person who's been disqualified because of the provisions of the Company Act. He has to first remove all the disqualifications which is there applicable to him. Then he'll be considered as a qualified director and then undertake all the compliances. Suppose if you have not done any compliances in the past because of this disqualified director, you cannot take the benefit of the scheme till the person has removed his disqualification. So even if this there, still it is not beneficial for you till the time the director is disqualified. Can a companies with paid up capital between 5 CR to 10 CR, which did not file active form since CS was not appointed, file the form now since threshold was increased to 10 crores from 5 crores from 1st April 2020? So the answer is yes. If you recollect last year, there was a new form introduced in 20A where that's called an active form, wherein all the companies which were required to keep a company secretary compulsory because their paid up capital was more than 5 CR were required to file this active form with the DSC of the company secretary fully employed in their company. It was when this form was introduced, many people were, made aware that sir, आपका paid up capital 5 CR है, आपको company secretary compulsory रखना पड़ेगा, and उनके DSC पे sign, DSC के through sign लेके form file करना पड़ेगा ये active company का. If people who are practicing in this ROC law in the past few years, you must have noticed that suddenly the last year there was an urgency of appointment of a company secretary. It was only because of this reason. So here the answer is yes. Now you can file the active form without a late fee of INR 10,000. So suppose if now you appoint a company secretary, but yes, the company secretary can file the now onwards, not for the past period. Huh? What are the options to be available to a company, the name of which has been struck off by the ROC, but is having business activity for availing the scheme? That means what the company has, the ROC has struck off its name and now they want to take a benefit. So go back to our NCLT, get yourself revived and then take the benefit of the scheme. This we have already discussed. This is also a good question. Huh? So does the CFSS 2020 allows refund of late filing fee and penalty which are already paid by the company filings made before March 20? That is, as I told you, the people who have already paid the additional fee and everything in the past, can they get a refund of the late file? That's the additional fee which they have paid. Answer is no. So sorry if you have already done any compliances before this scheme has come. Obviously your client might question you, but obviously you were not aware about it. So it's always, better to do the compliances rather to wait for any scheme to come into picture. Whether immunity certificate will be generated automatically once CFF form is uploaded, or it will be subject to approval of concerned ROC. So as I told you, you have to make an application in CFSS 2020 to get an immunity from prosecutions and proceeding against your key members. So the certificate will not be received automatically. Obviously, the ROC will also see whether you have filed the form properly or not. The compliances which you are stating in the form have been undertaken by you actually or not. And those compliances have been processed by the ROC also. Once this entire check and review is done, then your ROC will approve it and you will grant you the certificate. After immunity, whether that is full filling the form, and once the immunity certificate will be there, then you will get a refund. The answer is no. You don't have to pay any additional fee. When you are filing the form, automatically only the normal fee will come into picture. Question of additional fee does not come into picture. Since you are not making a payment, there is no question of refund also. Additional fee is still showing in Enquire Fees menu in NCA portal. Whether it needs to be updated in the portal or it is getting updated after filing of forms and generating SRN. Many times when you go ahead and you say what is the fee which is applicable on filing a form, you go to the ROC portal and check the fees. If you specify the date, the portal will still calculate the additional fees which you have to pay. It is only when you file the return and you come up with a payment page where the challan is generated and the SR number is generated, there you will see that only normal fee is calculated and additional fee is not calculated. Many questions are all related to when the director is disqualified, because that's a problem which many people had faced. Which form to file earlier, CFS 2020 or belated forms? As I told you, first you have to go for this leg, that's belated forms leg. All the forms which are due from 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020, you have to first file them, and then from 1st October CFSS 2020 will come into picture. Will this scheme be applicable on filing if due date is falling between period April 20 to September 20? So as I told you that yes, it's giving you a since the period is not specified, it is giving you benefits of both. That is the forms which are due to be filed before 1st April 2020, as well as those forms which are to be filed between 1st April 2020 to 30th September 2020. Is every company availing this scheme need to file form CFSS 2020 before filing the all the belated returns, or should we file the documents directly? So answer to is that first you have to file the belated return. It is only when the belated returns is processed, then only you can file the form CFSS 2020. Annual return as well as auditor appointment is not done since April 2015. Can the private limited company avail this scheme? The answer is yes. All the companies can avail this scheme. Those companies which are not having any activity, and the, as I told you, the directors are of this view, the companies are going to have an activity, but it's like just it's not tracking. So they have ignored all the companies' compliances, because that will be an additional cost to them. They must have not even appointed an auditor. Here, this is a golden opportunity for them. Go ahead and do all your compliances, maybe appointing an auditor or a company secretary, passing any resolution, updating any resolution to the ROC authorities. Go ahead and do it. One of the cases from which one of my client had, they wanted to amend the articles of the associations to carry out a new activity. But since the new activity was done, in such a haste way, or like they were so in hurry in doing that activity and completing that project, that they missed updating the articles of association. Now, when I go back and see, the activity is already done, but as per the articles of association or the memorandum of association, they are not allowed to do that activity because it's not covered over here. Here is the golden opportunity where you can go back and amend those articles and file the required forms with the ROC laws. Can there be a refund of late fee deposited for forms filed earlier? Earlier the notification of the scheme, as I told that there's no refund. As under CFS forms needs to be filed between 1st October to 31st March. Do we need to file any such form under LLP? Okay, this is the LLP question. So we are done with all the FAQs related to the scheme. In case if anyone has any queries related to the scheme, please let me know. And in case if we are having time, then we can go through some of the other updates of the ROC laws also. Any questions anyone have?
Shilpa ji, you can continue with your updates which you are talking about. We will take 10 minutes at the end.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah.
So just 1 minute, I'll open the folder where I have saved it. We have 2 or 3 updates related to the. I think someone has a. Okay, we have 2 or 3 updates related to the RSC law. Let's see if if someone is dealing in, then I think that might be useful to them. National Financial Reporting Authority rules were being framed in 2018. Basically, a new authority was there, That's the National Financial Reporting Authority, and rules were framed under that authority. This authority was formed with it to ensure that transactions done by following entities, they can keep a watch on these entities and ensure that everything is done in sync and is complied with the law. Those entities are all listed companies, unlisted companies with paid up capital or loans not less than 500 crores or turnover of not less than 1,000 crores. All banks, insurance, electricity companies, and certain foreign subsidiaries and associates of Indian companies. So these four companies were under the four type of companies were under the radar of NFRA. In NFRA, like apart from doing the ROC compliances, you were all, this is also part of ROC only. But apart from the normal annual filing and forms like NGT 7, AOC 4, everything else, you also have to do an additional compliances as per the NFRA law. Last year, there was a change made in the NFRA laws and a new form was introduced, that's NFRA 2A2, wherein in case if you are doing an appointment of an auditor or a removal, that information also needs to be updated to the NFR. The NFR authority, that's the National Financial Reporting Authorities. In this form, all details related to which type of companies he's holding, when he was appointed, whether he has any connection with the company or not, whether he has any disqualification related to the actions of the entity or not, everything needs to be given. This has to be filed by 30th April of every year. However, considering now that one is not able to file and the situations is not that you can go to the office and file your return, they have given you an extension. For financial year 18-19, the revised due date is 210 days for the deployment of form on the website of NFRA. So in case if you are an auditor of a listed company or an unlisted company with a paid up capital and loans not less than 500 crores or turnover of not less than 1,000 crore, or might be an auditor of a bank or insurance and electricity company, then you have to ensure that once this form is on the portal, the compliance is just done and your details have been shared with the NFR authorities also through ROC. The next is a share reconciliation statement. There's a new form which has been recently introduced. That's actually it was introduced last year. That's PAS 6, but yes, it's been active from 15th July. That's just 4 days back. This form is related to a share reconciliation statement. That is statements which are being how much shares have been issued by you, how much have been bought back, what are the right issue shares, what is the number of right issue of shares, how much shares are in dematerialized form, how much shares are is still in the physical form, why are they not dematerialized. All these details needs to be given in the form. In short, the share capital, that's the number as well as the value of the share capital as per books, should match with the shares currently either dematerialized or in physical holding, whatever the case may be, should match with that value. In case if there is any discrepancies between the two, like the shares have been already allotted as per the books but not actually dematerialized because of any reason, that is the person has not given his demat details, or there is some issue in converting the form from physical to dematerialization, then you have to give a reasoning for that in your return. But yes, the return is required to be filed. Earlier it was 60 days from the end of the half year, but the problem was the form was not available on the portal. That's the reason you were not able to file it. Now the form is available from 15th July 2020. So in case if you have any such companies through which this is not applicable to all the companies. Now this is applicable to only those companies where this rule is applicable. That is companies prospectus and allotment of securities rules 2014 is applicable. If only PA, you have to first check whether this rule is applicable to you or not. If this rule is applicable, then you have to go back, collect the details, and file this form PS6. This is to be certified by practicing chartered accountant. So you can see this as a new opportunity for you in case if your client has not filed it. During COVID situation, it is difficult to find any opportunities. So I'm sure you, if know any such companies to this, which this rule is applicable, please go ahead and pitch in for this type of work with them. This is normal update where in case of a listed company where you are required to publish your results by quarterly or half yearly. The date initially was extended to 30th June. Now considering that it's not possible to complete by 30th June also, they have extended the date to 31st July 2020. So you have more, I'll say 12 days in hand to complete this activity. We have one update related to GST also. I'm not sure whether it will be applicable to many or not. But in case if your clients are from Daman, so this is obviously a very big update for you. Or your clients deal with dealers who are in Daman. This is a big update for you. So basically where Daman and Diu were merged, earlier both the entities were having different GSTN number, but like both the states had, union territories had a different GST number. So if you have an entity registered in Daman and you have an entity registered in Diu, both will have a different state codes. Now with the merger, all those entities which are in Daman will get a new GSTN number. The earlier GSTN number which was allotted to them was starting with 25. Now they will be given a new GST number which will be starting with 26. So in case if you are having a client who is located in Daman, he has to go back and check whether he has received any email from the department or not, giving a new email ID and password. And from 1st August, his new number will start with 26 and not 25. He also has to update all his vendors that his number has changed from 25 to 26, update them the new number, fill up the new vendor form, so that from 1st August 2020, whatever procurement he does, all his vendors give him the credit under the new number, that is 26 and not 25. Currently, the transition from 25 to 26 is not yet given. I'm assuming that the government will obviously come up with something where those people who are having credit left under the code 25 will be allowed to transit it to 26, because a new login ID and a new password will be given. This old 25 numbers login ID password of GST portal will not be working any further, and all your returns also will be filed under the new number. It starts with 26. But they have to ensure that they keep an eye on their email so that they are able to track the new login ID and password which is given by the department. In case if they have not received anything till 31st July, I would suggest that they should approach the department and get their new login ID and password as well as the new number. It starts with 26. So here was all the updates which were available with me, which I have shared with you. Any queries related to the updates also, you can put it in the chat section. Akash and Ritu, I'm done with my seminar. In case if anyone has any queries, please update me.
I had posted a query in your chat box. You received from one of the members.
I got it now. Will they come up any scheme for strike off of companies by ROC? I didn't get the question, Akash. What did he want? Is there a scheme where it's already striked off? They want to revive it, or they want the ROC to strike off the company? Okay, I'll tell you both the. No problem. See, any case, in case if you do not undertake any of your annual compliances and you are not taking the benefit of this scheme also, that's last till 30th September. From 1st October onwards, ROC is going to do this solely. They are going to strike off all those companies which have not done any compliances in their past. Plus, they have not taken the benefit of this scheme because their intention of introducing all the scheme is also to, think that there's nothing, no company in existence, or just the name is going on. So better remove those companies and strike off. Even their burden of handling so many companies reduces. So automatically from 1st October onwards, ROC is going to do this procedure of striking off of the names of our companies which have not done any compliances. In case if your question is this way, that whether they are going to come up with any procedure of revival of strike off company, that is the company is already striked off and you want to revive it. So till date there is nothing as such, no scheme. You have to go with the old law only, where you have to actually file an application to the NCLT to revive it. Any other queries?
Posted.
There is also of producer company. I didn't get the question.
Dineshji, you can unmute yourself and ask the query because it's not clear what you are asking.
Hello, yes, Shilpa madam. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is also available to producer company. This is all the facilities. I think so. If someone has not filed the return so far, so they can also take the benefit of this scheme.
Yes, sir. That's applicable to all companies, as I told you. There is no bifurcation done between the companies. Only those 5 points which we had read earlier. That is, in case if you have received a notice of strike off, or you have gone for a strike off, or you have amalgamated, or dormant status. It is only those companies which are out of the list. Apart from that, all companies are covered over here. Even if yours is a producer company, as per the ROC laws, you can take the benefit of this scheme.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
One more query. Company formed in 2015, not filed any form, not issued share capital, shares, cannot open bank account also, can benefit of this? Because
And yes, you can do all your compliances in 2015, where you were saying, so you were not required to get the commencement certificate. But yes, you can open your bank account. Firstly, go ahead and open your bank account, deposit the share capital, file the active form, that's in 20A. File those forms, do all your annual compliances which you are required to do. Even if you have not done any transaction, still you are required to do your annual compliances, that is AOC 4 and NGT 17. File those compliances and take the benefit of this scheme.
any more queries, members? You can post the same in chat box.
Yeah, one query. If any company have not filed 20A, Form 20A, and increased share capital, authorized share capital, so can he file that authorized assets?
So here you have, correct. So you have done 2 non-compliances. One in 20A and second is change in authorized capital. There are 2 non-compliances which is done on your part. For one that's in 20A, you can take the benefit of the scheme and file it. But as regards change in authorized capital, the scheme is not applicable. So, but you have to still file it. But with payment of additional fee.
Okay. So then it will be compliant, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Members, any query? Okay, Shilpa ji, we will let you know if there will be some queries.
Sure, sure.
Thank you for the wonderful session. Now I request Preksha ji Jain, our study circle member, to offer a formal vote of thanks to our today's speaker.
Thank you, Ritu. Thank you, Shilpa ji, for enlightening us with the scheme, company's first start scheme 2020. You have really given a detailed explanation and almost all the FAQs also, and in a very simplified way. Thank you so much. And I think most of the queries have already been resolved, which might have been arise in the mind of the members while you were giving a detailed discussion. So thank you so much. And I think as you have rightly said that there might be many compliances which are not being complied by the directors, and because of which the company, it may have an impact on the company. So this opportunity is a great opportunity wherein even the directors can comply various forms if they haven't filed yet, and again the companies, and they can become a fully compliant company. So yes, you have done it greatly. Like which all things we can be get rid of by penalties or prosecutions or any other things that might attract if we still don't get into this scheme and comply all those belated returns or all those delayed forms which we haven't yet. So we can definitely guide our clients also in this aspect. So thank you so much. In this Sunday morning, you have really given a great insights on this scheme. I also thank Amit ji for giving me this opportunity. And again, I thank to all the CP Study Circle, behind the CP Study Circle members, the coordinators, Nikun ji, Ritu ji, and all other members. And of course, great thanks to all our dear colleague members who are attending this session. So I hope we will be getting in touch soon with some other topics in this and relating to this and other fields also, which will have a direct benefit to all the members. So thank you so much. Happy Sunday and stay safe, stay healthy.
Happy Sunday to you also.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We'll keep this session open for members to update their IDs.